Check, check, ch- check, 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 check. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. Today is day three of the Video Foundation course. Yesterday, we talked about f-stop, p-iris, and other exposure shutter speed concept. So we will just review them quickly. So f-stop is higher the number, smaller the opening for the light to enter. So higher the f-stop, less light will enter. Lower the f-stop, more light will enter. Some premium lenses have lower f-stop options for low light application. P-iris is similar to DC-iris except it uses stepper motor for more precision based focus. Okay, both are equally good. PR is slightly better. Next, we talked about resolution. We require higher resolution for more clarity, of course, for more details on the scene. However, higher resolution comes with more data. In order to compensate for such increase in data, we have codecs H.264, H.265. H.265 is the latest codec that is more efficient for higher resolutions like 4K and above. They are working much more efficiently compared to H.264. H.264 is um, it's good for 2 megapixel, 4 mega, and all that. But the moment you go higher resolution, more codec or a newer codec is required. Then we saw what is codec doing. It tries to reuse the redundant data and eliminate this redundant data to reduce the bandwidth. Okay, the bandwidth or the camera streams frames for 25 frames. It will stream one iframe and remaining as p frame. Okay, then we talked about multi-streaming from the camera. The camera is required to have multiple streams to cater to the live requirement, recording requirement, multi-view requirement. What is multi-view? When you see multiple cameras in one monitor, you can reduce, sorry, excuse me, you can reduce the load on the CPU by switching to a lower resolution when you have too many cameras to be displayed on the screen. All right. Then, what is the minimum number of streams that we talked about yesterday? At least three, because today you have very high resolution cameras for live view. When you see in one screen, in full screen mode, it will be full resolution, but when you see multi tiles, multiple cameras, it will switch to the low resolution for multi view. Then for recording, of course, different regulations dictate the recording parameter. Some of them ask for you can always create another parallel stream H.265 for recording, same resolution, same frame rate, or lower frame rate as per the project requirement. Then we saw Wise Stream technology, or basically additional compression technology, which is more into the CCTV market. Okay, how does it work? It tries to reduce the iframe size and it tries to even increase the interval. Maybe after every 5 seconds, it will send one iframe. Till then, All the 25 frames will be p frames, so it tries to compensate like that. That is Wisestream concept. Some vendors have different names for it. They can call it uh, maybe zipstream or anything like that, the smart compression and so on. Okay, then we saw camera types, and most commonly used camera type is the dome and bullet. Dome is for indoor, bullet is outdoor. It's an all-purpose camera. You can see lens, IR, sunshade, wall mount, all included. Okay, then it comes in different lens options also. Then this is indoor dome camera. So indoor, outdoor, most likely you will have dome camera. Other applications you can choose different shapes. We also saw multi-sensor models, panoramic, multi-direction, two-direction, and the difference between the series is not really resolution anymore. It's the processing capability. Higher applications can be running analytics, higher WDR or higher image performance features, artificial intelligence, all that higher number of sensors, all that is the difference between the series and not really resolution anymore. Okay, we also touched on the shutter speed. Higher shutter speed can capture fast moving object. Okay, then today we will see analytics. Analytics are like the capability of the camera to analyze the video and take a decision or take an action. Okay, for example, motion. There is a motion in the scene, someone is moving in the scene. Usually what happens today, when there is motion, the lights are turning on. When there is no motion, lights are turning off in our office corridor and so on. Same way in the camera, when there is motion, camera will record. When there is no motion, camera can stop recording. Similarly, many more analytics are there in the camera. Appear and disappear is they also call it object left behind. So somebody leaves an object. So for example, somebody dropped an object and left it. So the camera knows from the scene there was no new object, but suddenly there is a bag, somebody left a bag. So it will trigger the operator, there is a new object in the scene. Or someone removed a bag or removed a expensive item, you can get an alarm. So you can customize this analytic called appear and disappear. Virtual line, you can draw a line and you can tell the camera. Let me pull out the camera for you. Okay, we have line crossing. What is the line crossing? You can draw a line. You can draw multiple lines like this, and yeah, so you can tell analytics go up. I mean, whichever direction it will trigger an alarm. So top to bottom, bottom to. Let me just pull another camera because there's someone in the office. One second, let me check. Just a second. Okay, let's go. So here I have analytics where I can draw line and do line crossing analytics. For example, you can you can mark uh, multiple lines like this, and you can say, okay, if they cross this boundary, you have to trigger an analytics. Oh, Really sorry for this. Just a second. Okay. So yeah, let's say if this is your perimeter, you draw a line. You can draw multiple lines. You can draw like this. So if anybody is crossing from outside to inside, it will trigger an alarm. If anyone is crossing from outside to inside, it will trigger the alarm. So you can draw 8 lines. You can change directions as well. Now, what else? You can also, let's say this is a storage area. I can mark the storage area and I can I can select enter. Enter means if any kind of intrusion occurs from here. For example, if any intrusion occurs from this border, if anybody is crossing this border and entering through the perimeter, through this box, it will trigger an alarm automatically. Okay. Same way, you can have exit. If someone is leaving the box, you can trigger an alarm. Loitering is someone is just roaming in the area, like unwanted behavior. Someone is just wandering in the area. You can trigger an alarm. So you can exclude some areas. So here my head is moving here, so I can exclude some area because there is always some movement in that location. So you can exclude also. You can also calibrate what should be the minimum size to detect small objects, any small birds, animals. You can ignore by calibrating the size. Okay, so all this is built-in analytics. You can do tampering. Tampering means you can, if someone is blocking the camera view, it will trigger the alarm. So it will wait for 10 seconds and then trigger. So you can make it also 3 seconds. So if someone is blocking the camera view for more than 3 seconds, it will trigger the alarm. Is it this one or this one? I think it's this one. So yeah, if someone is blocking the view, you can see the red color border, it will trigger the alarm. So that is possible as well. Okay. Then cameras can have something. See, these are common security analytic: motion, tampering, and crossing the line, entering an area, intrusion. All are commonly required security analytics. So, for us, for example, every camera you will find this analytic. What is extra like fog detection, face detection, audio detection, someone is screaming, shouting, those kind of analytics you will not find in every camera. That will be, you can say, specific models you will have, but it is available as a additional analytics in, let's say, one of the series called X series. Okay. Then there is something known as handover. Handover means one camera is looking at the scene and it detected some movement. So it will ask a PTZ camera to come to that location and then track. Okay, so it is like two camera talking to each other. No need for any VMS in between. No need for any software in between. The camera will talk directly to another camera. Okay, then we have here 15. These are the list of analytics that you can commonly find: appear and disappear, somebody removed the object, left the object, loitering, line crossing. So if you should remember one point here: the name of the analytic can be different, but it can mean the same thing, because analytics is like a software related function. Usually they have patents, and it uh, they everyone cannot use the same name for that analytics. So virtual line, directional motion, line crossing all means the same thing. Wrong direction detection, everything represents the same meaning. Enter exit means zone crossing, stop to vehicle detection. All this represent if someone is parking in the wrong area. So somebody entered in the wrong area and parking there. So that is enter detection. So different names, but it represents the same thing. So you don't have to look for exact word to do the analytics. Try to see how this analytic can meet your requirement functionality. Okay, this is our job as engineers working in CCTV to understand. Okay, the analytic does something, how it can be used for your project. Okay, motion detection, face detection, tamper detection, fog, defog. Okay, so these are common analytics. Okay, now here you can see what is the benefit of analytics. The benefit of analytics is simply to make the investigation process easy. So here I want to figure out how many people entered that particular gate in the time frame from, let's say, 11 to 12, and it will just tell me all the timestamps when it happened. So when I click on the timestamps, automatically the video plays. So you see here, this guy clicked search, all the timestamps are here. I click on it, it shows me all the incidents that happened in this location. So it makes life easier. Commonly people search for first person to enter the property, last person to leave the property. These are the common things that they look for. Okay, then you can there are analytics other than security. They are called business analytics: counting of people, checking the queue length, checking the heat map, which means which area is more crowded. These are, apart from CCTV, camera can also do these analytics, but you have to select which cameras have this and then use it accordingly. Okay, so it can give you dashboard reports saying how many people across all five cameras. So it is possible, and uh, it is possible. So it's about whether you want it or not, and you have to choose the right model. Okay, next is deep learning versus machine learning, and all of them. Okay, deep learning, machine learning, and then AI. All of them fall under the same category called artificial intelligence. Okay, machine learning or deep learning. Now, in the today, you hear a lot of technology revolving around artificial intelligence. In short, it is called AI. Okay, you find this very common everywhere you go: refrigerator, washing machine, mobile phone, television, everything is now smart and AI enabled. What is the objective of that? Is to behave like a human being, to be more interactive, to think like a human being. Okay, now camera, why should it think like a human being? If there is an intrusion, the camera can take action. That is, report, send an email, s- uh, turn on the lights or something like that. So that is one. Then camera can also do this. This is one. That is the main objective. Next is camera can also uh, uh, just a second. Okay, sorry for that. So we were talking about AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Okay, so the objective of cameras is to behave like a human being. Okay, now, uh, now in the field of AI, in the domain of AI, there are two types of learning used to make the camera behave like a human being. Two types of learning. Okay, I mean, it is if you go slow, more deeper, it's like deep learning is a part of machine learning. But anyway, just take it as how best we can understand this concept in a simpler format. Okay, there are two ways: machine learning and deep learning. All right, machine learning is you are programming the camera to take informed decisions. Okay, so I let me just take one example. I always use this example to make sure people can understand. Okay, machine learning. Okay, now here I have let's say I want to program or train the camera. Okay, just focus on this point. It's a very important point. Let's say I want to train the camera to differentiate between cat and a dog. I want to train a camera to differentiate between cat and a dog. So if there is a cat with a pointed ear, so let's say according to the programmer, all the cats they have pointed ears. So he will train the camera saying, program one, if you find any animal with pointed ears, consider it or categorize it as cat. If you find any animal without pointed ears or a drooping ear, consider it as a dog. Done. So now this camera is being trained using machine learning method because someone is training it and entering the programs or algorithms to make the decision. Okay. Now, based on this, the camera will continuously make decision. That is fine. But the problem is in CCTV field or in real world environment, it's a complex environment, right? You can have cats with folded ears, or in CCTV field, you can have scenario with lot of complexity in the scene. So you can have for example, shadows, people walking behind, child, different age group, different ethnicity, different height, running, crawling, scrolling. So, raining, dust, nighttime, daytime, so many complex scenarios. It's a very complex environment. There's no way a programmer can keep on programming the camera for different scenario. Okay, so it's impossible. Even for one cat, it is almost impossible because he has to train now by saying, okay, here is just one point. You should also look at other features of the cat. Like that, he has to keep on programming till the camera can decide correctly. So it's a lot of headache. So that's why deep learning came into picture. Deep learning means just like how humans are learning. It's like you don't program it, you just show the camera, you just show in front of the camera thousands of pictures of cats, or let's say in the case of CCTV, we show in front of the camera thousands of pictures of human beings, different age groups, different nationalities, different, I mean, different or wearing different dress, and also child, and also gender. So we show all of this in front of the camera, then the camera will learn by itself. Okay, only thing that we tell the camera is this is a male, this is a female, uh, this is a human. This is all we tell the camera, but how they look, what height they are, everything the camera itself will start learning by itself, looking at the scene. The camera itself will learn. So the programmer's job is much more actually simpler because he doesn't have to type the height, he doesn't have to type the color, he doesn't have to check hair length and all that. You don't have to do it. The camera itself will learn by looking at all the pictures. Okay. Now once that is done, the camera is much more well prepared. Even if even if the person is hiding behind a tree or running, scrolling or running, it doesn't matter. The camera knows that it is a person because it is being trained like a human being. So here you can see the person is. I mean, you can take this one. You can see even behind the tree, only little part of the car is visible, but still it is able to detect there is a car. If there is a human being standing here, it can detect there is a human being, right? So it doesn't have to really match every single point, but camera can use this more intelligent sense to figure out whether there is a car or a human being in the scene. Okay, now what is the challenge with machine learning? In machine learning, it will never detect any object which is half missing. It will not detect if the object is going sideways. If the car is going sideways, but you train the camera looking front ways, it will not detect that. If the person is falling short or maybe a little far or is not, it's probably is sitting down. Maybe he's not having the same height as a person standing. Let's say he's sitting down, maybe the machine learning camera will think it's a dog or a cat because because it is not meeting its criteria. Okay, so you have to look up whenever you are working with AI based solution. Go for deep learning based technology. Deep learning is much is the is the real sense of AI. Okay, in CCTV environment, because CCTV environment is complex, you cannot predict when it will rain, when it will dust, how the people will walk. You cannot predict. If you can predict everything, like a factory, if you want to check something in the factory, if something broken or not broken, very controlled environment, in that case you can use machine learning. Very very controlled environment, lighting is fixed, object size is fixed, color of the object is fixed, you can use machine learning. But in a complex environment, just go with deep learning. You can check in the datasheet of cameras whether they are based on machine learning or deep learning. Okay, and if it is not mentioned, just go and ask whether it is deep learning. All right, because you, when you're buying an AI camera, you're expecting that level of intelligence. And if you buy machine learning, it's as good as, okay, because the cat folded the ear, it's not a cat. How is that possible, right? So that is what machine learning will decide. So it will be much more difficult to work with such cameras. Okay, all right. Not only that, cameras, you can also train the camera to find out the color, type of car, whether it is a bus or a truck, whether it is a motorbike. We can train the camera however you want, and you can use it for your own benefit. If you want to, so here, let's say our cameras, it can figure out the person's shirt color, pant color, age group, vehicle color, vehicle type, truck, bus, motorbike. So you can make rules accordingly. You can say, I want to figure out a person wearing a red color shirt. Sorry, let's say I want to figure out a person, gender male, wearing red color shirt. It will show all the photos. Click on it, and the video will play on the right side. So your investigation is a bit more futuristic or more advanced and more sensible, that you are able to visualize what filter based on real parameters like shirt color, pant color, and so on. Okay, then Okay, let me check for one more reference. So here is a video where you can draw a line and you can say detect any vehicle that is crossing. So if some vehicle is crossing, it will trigger alarm. But if a person is crossing, it will just say no, no problem. You can tell even which type of vehicle. You got it? So that is possible. You can do it with AI cameras. So it's more accurate. You don't have to worry about configuring, getting unnecessary alarms. It doesn't matter. If it is a person, only then it will trigger the alarm and you can use it for searching. All right. So just remember the difference standard analytics, deep learning, and machine learning. Okay. Next is um, OnWIF. OnWIF is a open platform that is available in the cameras. Uh, it is for interoperability. Okay, camera can be from vendor A, and the recording software of the camera can be from vendor B. But if vendor A and vendor B, they both have OnWIF, that means they can speak to each other. It's like a protocol, OnWIF protocol. Okay, it's a standard. For example, TCP/IP is a standard. You have LAN, BACnet. These are all standards. Yeah. Yes, Open Network Video Interface Forum. But generally, the full form is not very easy to remember, but in short, it is OnWIF. Now, there are different profiles of OnWIF, OnWIF S, OnWIF G, OnWIF Q, OnWIF T, then OnWIF M. There are now different profiles of OnWIF. Now, just remember, one profile is not better than the other. All of them have a different scope of work. Okay, so as a minimum, okay, another way to understand onlif is this is another example I commonly take is uh, all of you are able to understand my communication although I'm from different country because we all understand English, so that is a common language. So you can buy camera from Korea or Europe or Asia, anywhere, or US, doesn't matter, as long as they all speak the common language on with, you can work with it. Okay, that's like it's another way to put it. So you can buy camera from let's say Hanwha, you can buy VMS from some other company in Europe, French or Denmark, doesn't matter, but as long as they both speak only, you can talk to each other. Now, what is the communication required between a camera and recording software? Uh, Camera should send video, recording software should receive the video. Recording software or the management software, yeah, sorry, recording software or the management software, their objective is to control the camera, right? If it is a PTZ camera, they should be able to control the PTZ camera. If the camera is having some analytics, it should receive the analytics. So these are the functions of the camera, and the recording software or the management software should be able to see that in the should be able to control the camera and receive those events from the camera. I have kept my mic a little bit away. I hope it is fine now. Okay. So, having said that, there are different profiles of OnWIF. Okay. The first thing is OnWIF S. It is the most fundamental requirement because video, if you want to get a video from the camera, you need OnWIF S. All right, that is responsible for the video and in H.264 format. Then OnWIF G is for roughly speaking, it is well known for SD card functionality in the camera. So if you're recording on the SD card, you should be able to see the video from the SD card, right, from the VMS. So the on with G scope is to do that. On with Q is every camera used to have a different username and password called default username and password. Okay, let me explain what is default username and password. Nowadays it doesn't really exist, but back in the time it was there. When you go and type default CCTV password, every brand of camera used to follow a specific username and password by default. You will find here username, service, password, IP address, and so on. So this ones are like everybody has knowledge of this, right? So unless you change it, okay, forget about that. Uh, just remember this: there is different username, different password, username different, password different, username different, password different. Username is admin 1234, username is service, password is service. So it's all different, right? So when you're adding the camera, when you're doing the discovery of camera, it was very difficult because each of them had a different username and password. So what OnWIF did, OnWIF standardized. Everybody should have similar, uh, you know, way to discover the camera to get access to the camera. But 2016, nobody had any issue about cyber security. So OnWIF was okay. So OnWIF was well received back then because if let's say I'm trying to discover the camera and okay, if I don't know the password, the VMS will not will not be able to discover it, or it cannot add it. Okay, so to make that process simpler, OnWIF was released. But back in 2016, cybersecurity was not a big issue, so OnWIF was well received. Everybody accepted it. But today, that is a problem because according to OnWIF, anybody can get access to the camera. They can understand what is the camera, MAC address, and other extra details about the camera they can get. They can even log into the back end of the camera without much headache. So that kind of risk is there in OnWIF. So it is almost like uh, today it's non-existent. Okay, it's not a big deal if you don't have OnWIF. Then OnWIF is more about H.265. Okay, so having said this, just because your camera is on with Q, it does not mean it is superior to S. Okay, on with Q is addressing easy setup, easy discovery, configuration, control. That's it. It is not going and talking about on with S. All right, so you should have on with S plus on with G plus on with Q plus on with T. So that's the idea. You should have as many as possible. That is how you should look at on with standard. Okay, so it's like I can speak multiple languages. Okay, English, maybe another version of English, American English, European English, Australian English, Irish English, like that. Okay, so it's like different versions of the same language. Okay, so OnWIF T. Then OnWIF M is available just during the COVID time they launched it. It is purely for metadata and AI based camera systems. So you will not find OnWIF M in the old camera. It is not possible if the camera is not AI based or does not have anything much to send as a metadata, you will not find OnWIF M. So just keep this in mind. You should have OnWIF M. You will find in all the latest AI cameras. Okay, T is for H.265. How to check if your product supports OnWIF? You can go to onwif.org, then click on conformant products on the top right, and then at the bottom you can search On with, you can do a common search. You will see around 19,000, 18,000 cameras. Uh, but you can do specific search. You can enter your you can enter the cam type and the manufacturer. Let's say Hanwha, Hanwha Techwin. Then you can find all the devices on with SGT. So you will see Q is almost taken off, right? Because Q is now a cybersecurity issue, so it's not really well received anymore. So ST, and you can see the certificate of each device and so on. You can find it for every vendor, but definitely some vendors don't have it. Okay, now as a VMS, VMS falls under on-with client, okay, because it is a receiving end, recording software, viewing software, they're all on-with client. So when you see on-with client, you will see NVR, you will see VMS, SSM, you will see, those kind of uh, products under the client side. Cameras will go to on-with device side. VMS recording agents will go to the on-with client side. So there are two types: on-with device, on-with client. Okay. Okay. Cyber security. Let's just quickly go. Cyber security is simply required because there is a uh, lot of I mean, you can say bad people. They are looking for opportunities to make money by by threatening. Let's say somebody has access to your property. Let's say you're a bank, they have access to your data. They will tell you, okay, give us $1 million or $2 million, then we will give all the data back. So you will be, in hand tied, and you don't want the whole world to know, okay, your bank has been hacked and data has been leaked. Of course, as per global policy, you have to inform that your bank has been, according to Europe laws at least, you should send an email. If it is, there are different levels. Based on that, you have to send an email to all the customers saying, okay, our data was hacked. Please go and change your password and all that. But the hackers are not only copying the data and password, they can even handicap the system. They can go and change the, let's say, admin password. Then what you will do? You will not be able to access your system, right? In that case, they will ask for money and then only you can get it recovered. So all this is a big headache. So in order for to avoid this, you have to take multiple steps. Okay, not a single step. What is a single step? Single step is just you have a very good strong password. That is not enough. There are many ways to access the camera. The back door, which is anything that is not a front door, is a back door. So if you use some special passwords, if you use some master password, if you use some special URL, you can get access to the camera. So that is called backdoor. Then weak password policy. Some vendors used to follow even till to 2020. You can put password as one letter A. That's it. So that is a weak password policy. You can put password as 1 2 3 4. So, and if given the chance, maybe the person installing will say, okay, why to change, make it difficult? I'll make it easy. He'll put the password as 1 2 3 4. So he, even if he forget, he will try that, right? So that is the challenge. So you have to, as a vendor, they have to make sure password policy is very strong. Now, what most vendors have done today, they removed the concept of default password. If you go Google and type default password, you will find, right? Many vendors have removed it. There is no concept called a default password. Okay. So whenever you log into the camera, you create the password for the first time on the camera. Let me see if I can demonstrate one. Okay, so I've reset one camera, so it will take some. a few seconds. Till then, let's move forward. Non-used port open. Port. Port is like the uh, what do you say? Okay, when you are speaking to the camera, okay, the best way to understand the port is like your traffic road. In the road there are lanes marked, there are 4 lanes, 5 lanes, right? Everybody should go in their lane: fast speed lane, middle lane, slow speed lane, and so on, right? But everyone is going in the same direction, but there is different channels for smooth traffic. Same way, when you are communicating with the camera, camera sends video in one port and the audio in another port, then the web page settings in another port, other protocols in another port. So it will divide the data traffic in different ports. So it will be accessed by through different port numbers. So sometimes if you're not using a particular port, you should not leave it open. So uh, cameras, you okay, those ports should be kept closed. So how to understand this? It's like in your house, you have a door, main door, you lock the main door, you lock the back door, but the windows are open. So it's like somebody can still try to come inside, right? So that is called unused port. So many vendors now, good vendors, they have a policy to keep all these unused ports completely locked, closed. Okay. Okay, so this is called initial password. So this is a camera which is in the brand new state. So when I bought the camera and I plugged in, at the first time I cannot log in. There is no default password. It is asking me to create a new password. So when I create a new password, I have to put a complex password of 8 to 9 character. It should at least have uppercase, lowercase, number and special character. So it should be complex. If I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, it will not accept. It will say no, it should be a combination of capital letters, small letters. So this is the new thing you will find. Password policy is now very strong. Higher the stricter the password policy, more difficult to hack. So we are trying to make it difficult for whoever wants to hack by closing backdoors and closing unnecessary ports, making password policy strong. The software in the camera is encrypted, which means it cannot be understood in plain. It is not in plain English that people can understand. You know, firmware is a software. In the software, in the camera, you should not be like this. Okay, how is it? For example, in my computer I have C drive, then I have D drive, then I can go to Windows and password file fold. It should not be in plain English. Then I can go here and put, okay, Windows, go to my file, photos, then password folder, bank folder, like that. It should not be in very plain English in the camera, so people can understand where the password is saved, where the files are saved, where the encryption keys are. So that is a problem. So it should be encrypted so people don't understand where the and which is which file, which is what. Nobody should be able to understand. So it is encrypted. Okay. All right. So here we are. Defense in depth. What is the meaning of defense in depth? There are different layers of protection required. The device itself, we talked about it, should have proper firmware update, unnecessary port, all should be closed. Then the NBR should be kept in a rack, should be locked. The overall system should be with separate network, should be segregated. And if you want to, if you have to create VLAN between the operator client and the backend, you should create. Overall, you should have a firewall. Then the entire system should be protected with a lock and key intrusion detection system for maybe somewhere it's a data center or something, kind of intrusion detection and so on. So different layers of protection makes the system much more strong. Okay. So this is just an example. If your password The longer the length, the more complex it is. The time it takes to hack it just increases exponentially. Okay, so if somebody is trying to guess the password, the amount of time it takes is higher the complexity, higher the length, size matters. So yeah. All right. Then of course there are other steps. Every vendor has a guide called network hardening guide. They have a option called let me pull that out also. Cyber security. Okay, so security level by default means when you buy the camera, remove initial password. There is no initial password. It will force complex password. By default, it is activated. Firmware is encryption is enabled. Other settings are enabled and disabled and so on. Okay, then if you want to go to another level, additional level of cyber security, you can disable unused multicast. You can enable TLS. You can okay, anything else you can disable. Okay, but anyway, by default it is disabled, so which is good. Okay, so by default we disable and activate certain features which is required. So every one day you can check. Next is secure level. If you want to go to another higher level of security, this is what we recommend. Recommended setting. By default, it is HTTP plus HTTPS. You have to change it to HTTPS. By default, it is HTTPS plus Wisenet on if you can change to RTSP. SNMP, you can change to V3. So whatever setting you require, this is the recommended setting. If you want very secure level, you can also use .1x certificate based access control for the cameras and your network systems. Okay, so this is different levels that you can check. Okay, another way to understand 802.1 is like your Wi-Fi. Okay, when you connect to a new Wi-Fi, you have to enter the password and they will check and then they will authenticate and give you IP address, something like that. So when you connect a camera to a property hotel network, it will check whether it will give up. You have to put some kind of certificate. It's like a password, and it will check whether you're authorized device. Then it will allow you to communicate. So it's like that. So it's like authenticating every single device whether it has access to the network. All right, then cameras have got logs, service logs. Let me again show you that live. System log, access log. Who tried to log in? It will even tell you somebody tried to log in and access was denied because wrong password. So you can check which IP address they logged in from. After that, you can, if you want, you can block that IP, or you can say only allow known IP and reject every other IP. Yeah, so that can be done as well. Then obscurity. Okay, there is something known as port. Okay, if you are going to the web page of the camera, by default it goes to port number 80. For example, when I go to the camera, this is the camera web page, but actually it is going to 192.168 or 1.160 colon 80. It is going to port 80. So it is the same thing. If you want to go to the web page of the camera, it is port 80. Now the challenge is anybody can take a guess and they can try to attack port number 80, try to access port number 80. So what you can do, you can make it difficult for them. You can go and change the port number. You go here and edit all the port numbers. So nobody can guess how many port numbers are there in a camera. Okay, you can find here itself. Let me just put something. Okay, it will give you you can put port number from 1024 to 65,000. So imagine this guy, whoever is trying to hack, he has to guess the port number between 60,000 ports. So it will be very, very difficult if you change it randomly. So he cannot guess. So you can do that also. Okay. Then you can put here CCTV. You can find this is online. You can find here, let's say, actually, I don't want to use any other vendor's name, but you can put some vendor name. It will show you all the cameras that are connected to the internet using that brand. So, and even if once you know the IP, you can directly try using port number 80. And after that, you can check default password, admin. If you try to log in, if they didn't change, you can even log into the camera. All right. So it's a bit risky in that aspect. That's why we try to change some. For higher security, you can change the port numbers. Okay, VLAN, I don't know if you're aware, VLAN is the network, you are splitting the network into multiple networks, segregating the networks, right? So all the computers or the clients will be in one section, the cameras and main server will be on another network. So uh, this guy, he cannot directly access the camera. He will have access to probably only the through the software. Only through the software he has to log in, and only then he can access the camera. Directly he cannot type the IP address of the camera because it's on different network. So like that you can make some segregation of network. All right. All our NVRs, for example, they have two network ports, one for the camera, other for the client. For example, one of the common example recently that we did is, let's say, the bank. In the bank, they have cameras. Okay, cameras are recording. Done. Now, the main supervisor, he wants to access the recording. He wants to check for some investigation. So, what they do is, for the main supervisor, they will give another network. So he can access the NVR, but he cannot access the camera network because the camera is on another network itself. So 192.168.1, this is on 192.168.2. So different network range. So the operator cannot directly access the, let me take a pen. So the operator, he cannot directly access the camera. He has to go to the NVR. Through the NVR, he can check. But in order to do that, he has to go and put the username password in the NVR and then check. So, and he cannot directly change the settings on the camera or other things, right? So that can be done. So by splitting the network, and you can give user rights. He can only do live view, he can only do export, he cannot do playback. So all that you can do by splitting the network. So this is something you can do as well. All right, so let's take a break and we will continue in 10 minutes. All right, let's continue the session. Okay, so next is VPN is okay. All right, cyber security. There are two other technical words that you can keep in mind. It is referred as UL certification. To be very specific, it is called UL CAP certification, Cyber Security Assurance Program. Okay, UL CAP certification, and this is a third party agency certifying the cameras are secure, meeting the cybersecurity standards, requirements, and so on. Then there is another FIPS certification. Then another common one is secure by default. Okay, secure by default is a certification from the Europe, which is for the vendors to make sure all the camera devices are secured, all in the most secure settings, locking all the doors and ports and so on. By default, you don't have to change anything. By default, it is already configured and kept secure. Okay. Other than that, uh, you will hear the word secure boot. Secure boot means when the camera is powering on for the first time, it will check if the main BIOS, in your computer, first the BIOS will load and then the Windows will load, right? Same way, first the camera will load and then the camera software will load, camera BIOS. So it will check if somebody tampered with the BIOS setting or the software, somebody changed anything, it will check. So that is called secure boot. Okay, so you can check this kind of new words because cybersecurity is now quite important. So it is done at the fundamental level, not just password and ports. From the chipset level, there is protection available. All right, so that's the job of secure boot. Secure UART is for the service port. So when you send the camera for servicing, only authorized people can access the camera for servicing. So that is called secure UART. Then private device certificate. What if somebody makes a duplicate camera? How do you know it is really from the vendor? So the vendor has a private device certificate installed in every camera. So nobody, so someone else cannot fake a vendor's camera. So that is also available. All right. Next is recorder and VMS, NVR and VMS. Okay. So let's try to understand this concept and then we can move forward. Okay, fundamentally, NVR, VMS, they are fundamentally same. Okay, their job is to manage cameras, manage the camera username, password, recording, motion recording, alarms, events, when the alarm occurred, who tried to access. They allow you to do live viewing, exporting the video. So both of them have the same function. Sorry. So NVR is called network video recorder. Okay, but it has a small database inside. Okay, if the NVR is for 64 channel, that means it can record 64 cameras. If the NVR is 16 channel, that means it can record 16 cameras. It has a database of 16 cameras. What database? Where the IP address of the camera, the camera settings, the camera passwords, the camera's alarm events, all that is database that is kept. Camera recording is stored in the hard disk in the NVR, so recording. Behind the NVR, there is HDMI port, so you can connect your mouse and monitor and view the live view. You can take playback. So all that you can accomplish for a certain number of cameras, which is 16 camera or 64 camera. So only that many you can do in one device. Okay, it's like one centralized device for these three functions. So that is an NVR. It combines all these functions in one box, all in one box. Okay, what is a VMS? VMS is generally referred as an enterprise level software where if you have large number of cameras, you don't limit, in the sense the database and recording and client, you don't have put everything in one PC. You split the function. So you will create a separate server and you will install the database. You will create or you will buy another server and install the recording application. You will buy a separate PC with 4 monitor output and install the client application. So you're just splitting the function and giving dedicated hardware for it. So because you're giving dedicated hardware, now the database can be 2000 cameras. Recording server, you can record 300 per server. You can have multiple recording servers. You can behind the NVR you can connect one or two monitor maximum. So, but if you buy your own PC, client PC, you can put four graphics card for 4 monitors. So you can expand, scale as many as you want. What if you need 10 monitors? Behind the NVR you can only connect two. So, but if you use the VMS concept, you can buy 3 workstations with 4 monitors each, and you can connect to the database and the recording and see the live video playback and so on. So this is the VMS function. It is just splitting the function but on a massive scale, expanding the capability on a higher level. Okay, but at the end all of both of them are doing the same thing. NVR is like a mini VMS. VMS is like combination of multiple NVRs and all the database in one location and multiple client stations, everything in one umbrella or one system. Okay. Okay. Now, NVR. If you want to record the cameras, you are recording on network video recorder. What is the objective of NVR, or why NVR is useful and popular still? Because NVR is cost effective. It does not require any licenses for the cameras. If you're buying a 64 channel NVR, you can record 64 camera. Any camera, Hanwha or third party camera, you can record. So that is the main benefit of an NVR. Okay, and it does not use Windows. It most of the NVRs use Linux, so no need to pay for Windows license. It's all plug and play. Everything is pre-configured. Let me see if I have one just to explain the NVR. Okay, so right now I have logged in to the web page of the NVR. In the web page, I can see multiple cameras. I can go to the setup function. I can auto detect, add the camera. But just remember, this is a web page. Okay. Uh, there is nothing, no start button, no going to C drive, D drive, nothing like, everything is pre-installed. Okay, all I have to do is just select which cameras I want to add it, apply, and apply. It will start recording. You can choose where to record. You can say I want to record. Oh, before that, you can edit the camera resolution. You can change the camera frame rate and other things through the NVR. Like you can configure the recording schedule. Uh, for example, continuous recording or record only during motion and so on. Second, okay. So yeah, here this is a 64 channel NVR. Every channel I can configure whether to record continuous or only during motion, or which time of the day it should record continuous, which time of the day motion. So nighttime motion, morning time continuous. I can apply to different cameras, channels, and so on. Then I can choose which whether to record continuously or record only during event. Before the event, it will keep some recording. After how long it should record after the event occurred. So you can record for 1 hour, 2 hour after the event occurred. Then you can choose to record how many days for each camera. Then you can choose which profile to record for each camera. For example, by default it is recording H.264. I can tell go and record H.265. So I can view H.264 but record H.265. I can customize this. Then I can create events. So for example, if something happened to camera 1, motion detection on camera 1 and 3, I want action, send email, mobile push notification, and so on. So all this I can do from the NVR. Alarm input and all that is okay. Device, yeah, the NVR will have some hard disk. It will have, this one has 8 hard disk. You can insert 8 hard disk. You can record, you can do, if it have a RAID function, you can do RAID. We will see RAID tomorrow. But all this is possible through the NVR. Okay, then you can search for the camera. You can do playback. You can also do exporting of video. You can say which camera from what time to what time you want to export. You can search for AI function. If you have AI cameras, you can search for that. So I just added all. Maybe it is there. So it's not yet ready. Okay. So you have to first add AI camera and then you can search for AI details. Then yeah, you can edit the camera names here and so on. So basically the objective is to manage multiple cameras in one location. But what if you have 200 cameras? Then you will have to open another NVR web page, another NVR web page, then another it becomes difficult, right? When you have 1,000 cameras, how do you do? How do you work on that? So in that case, you would jump directly to a VMS solution. What is the objective of VMS? In the VMS, okay, so I can go to the configuration. In the VMS, I can add I can add all the NVR, NVR1, NVR2, NVR3. I can add all the NVRs in one VMS and manage them together in in one screen. So I can see my cameras from NVR1, cameras from NVR2, cameras from NVR3, 4, 5, like that. All the NVRs I can see here, I can drag and drop and manage. So centrally managing multiple NVR systems for large projects, that is typically a VMS option. Okay, all right. Now, NVR is it's like a purpose-built hardware. So if you buy an NVR, for example, from any vendor, it is already pre-installed, pre-configured. Only you have to add the camera and start recording. But there is one good and bad with this. The good thing is, yes, it is easy. No need to install Windows, no need to update Windows, no need to check whether the software is compatible. No headache. It is already pre-installed, right? Nothing to do. Okay. And the downside is if you don't want it, let's say you want to change the VMS, you want to use a different software for recording, you cannot just delete it. If you buy an NVR, it's called embedded NVR. It's already pre-installed. You cannot delete it. So you have to just throw the device and buy another device from another vendor. Okay, but it is still popular because it's very cost effective. It is easy to commission, easy to set up, easy to install, and all the components are already designed for this application. So the headache is less for the integrator. Now it allows you multiple network ports, multiple fans, two HDM, one HDMI, one VGA port. Some of them have two HDMI port nowadays. Then all fan, redundant power supply. So in terms of functionality, you will not lack much. It will have everything. Only guess is yes, it's a proprietary hardware. NVR is a proprietary hardware. Now to compensate for this, um, people use Windows. NVR is mostly Linux, proprietary. People use Windows. Why Windows? Because you can, let's say right now this is running, this is the VMS, Wisenet SSM VMS. Okay. Let's say if I want to change, for example, this is when I can go to add remove programs, delete this and install some other VMS and add the recording devices. Or I have to update, change the recording software also to some other software. Basically, I can reuse the investment. My Intel processor, RAM, Windows, I can reuse. Okay, so that is the benefit of using a Windows-based recording solution or a VMS solution. Okay, now both of them, at the end of the day, even if it is NVR, I am managing from a Windows PC because I am opening a web browser and I can manage. That is fine. But the NVR itself, fundamentally, I am only accessing the web page of the NVR, okay, through the Windows PC. But the NVR itself is running on Linux. Whereas a VMS software is mostly installed on a Windows PC or a Windows server, and the server is repurposable. Okay, that is one of the key benefits. It's like open source hardware. Anybody can install their VMS on it, and flexibility is there. You can easily expand also. Maybe you can attach a network storage. You can add more RAM card in the future. So it's a bit more flexible from that point. If you want more network cards, you can put more network port. If you want one more monitor output, you can add one more graphics card. So that flexibility you will get when you go with the fully Windows based, uh, servers and clients and so on. Okay, so this topic will also require actual experience to better understand uh, software. It's you can only explain so much on a PowerPoint. Okay, so when you get time, do attend the VMS pre-sales training to understand how, what are the things that you can do with the VMS and so on. And you can attend any NVR training to understand how NVR works and so on, to get the difference, because at the end of the day both are doing same function but on a different scale. Okay, higher quantity, higher number of cameras, people go to VMS. All right, now think of this way. One more example for you. Most of the NVRs are generally 60 16 channel, 64 channel. What if you have 2000 cameras? Okay, 2000 cameras. If you buy a 64 channel, okay, let's take 1000 itself, 1000 cameras, 64 channel. I need for 16 NVR. Okay, but if I buy a recording server with Windows, buy a separate recording server, in that case, let's say it can do 300 or 250 cameras, 1000 divided by 250. Only four I need. So 16 NVR, otherwise I need four servers, recording servers, because I can give a higher processor, I can add more cameras and so on. So that is the flexibility, or when you go to large projects, the VMS will be cheaper than going for NVR. When you go for smaller and up to 500, 600 cameras, VMS will be cheaper compared to VMS. Okay. Okay, let's just compare the two types of operating systems used in video management system. NVRs use Linux. Linux operating system is good. It's always been good in terms of stability. You don't have to worry about Windows upgrade. Redundancy, it supports all types of redundancy option. It is already pre-configured because the vendor is building the hardware for his product, so he already knows what is required, what motherboard will work, what RAM card will work. Everything he has already tested, tried. Everything's there. No headache for you. Then future flexibility way less. If you want 64 channel camera to do 65, you have to buy one more NVR. that flexibility will be less. It is restricted. Next, upgrades of NVR. It's very long. It's because it's Linux. You can't expect like monthly updates or like that. It takes some time to develop. Then cost is very cheap because though so many licenses are not there related to Windows. Then performance is it is minimum, but whatever the NVR can guarantee, it will be mentioned on the datasheet. If it is 64 channel, it will 100% support 64 channel. Okay, so that is guaranteed. What is written on the datasheet will guarantee. Many NVRs nowadays support expansion of storage, so you can expand. That's okay. Windows, yeah, it is good. Nowadays, Windows is also quite stable and upgrades. Windows has a new policy for industrial servers. Every 2 years, every 3 years, they have upgrade instead of every 6 months, 2 months. Because when you do upgrade, you have to restart the server. That means your services are going offline for that time. So Windows has a different version for industrial applications. Okay, then we are using nowadays Windows Oracle. We have both. Let's say Hanwha has both Linux and Windows, because some customers they say, okay, I don't want Linux and I like Windows, but I don't want to buy from outside from HP or Dell. Let the vendor himself install his software on a Windows server and give it to me. So the headache is on the vendor, right? He will check everything is suitable or not. So many vendors also now provide that. Like you can see Husky servers from Milestone. They used to be only VMS supplier, but now they install and they provide it to you. Exact Vision, they will install and provide the server to you. Pelco, they will install the VMS and provide it to you on their hardware. So you have now option to choose either Linux recording or Windows. For us, we will install the SSM on the Windows server and we can provide it to you. So this functionality is now available. You have the best of both. Okay, for large projects, Windows based is cheaper because you can put more cameras in one server. Linux based for small to medium is good. All right, next is in Windows. It is you can choose. You can choose the best CPU. You can choose the best graphics card. You can choose the very high RAM. You can customize as you like if you want. If but you buy from a vendor, what they have, that's it. Or it is like already predefined configuration. But if it is, you can still expand if it is if the vendor has option for it. Uh, maybe maybe the vendor has only two network ports. You want to add one more network port. If there is slot in the motherboard, then you can use it. Okay. Next, and whenever there is Windows, the development is faster. You can quickly make, let's say if you want to do integration, you can quickly develop the integration because more developers are available. It's much more simpler and so on. Then the hard the service, if you're not happy with that particular software, you can go to add remove program, delete and add a new one, so you have flexibility. uh, Another example for this is some of the vendors, they have customers, sorry, some hotels, they have a existing video management system from some other vendor. They they were tired of it, some other vendor. Okay, they didn't like it, or they were charging too much of some kind of licenses, maintenance cost, this and that. Support was not. So what they did, they asked us to change they gave the service. They asked us to change it to our software. So we were able to do it because it was Windows based. We reinstalled sorry, we uninstalled and then reinstalled our SSM software and connected the existing cameras through OnWIF or through native driver. So in that case, we were able to migrate the customer without spending for hardware, right? The big cost is gone. So initially it may be expensive, like compared to NVR, it will be 2 to 3 times expensive, but in the long term it can be beneficial. But just remember this example once again, 2 to 3 times expensive is per NVR. But if your NVR is for 1000 cameras, if you need 16 NVRs, but Windows you need only 4. So in that case, cost of Windows will be cheaper. Okay, keep that in mind. Higher the number of cameras, Windows will be cheaper. Okay, next is DAS versus NAS versus SAN. Okay, so this is the last topic for the day. So DAS means direct attached storage. Hard disk directly attached to the server. If your hard disk is directly your laptop, it has a built-in hard disk, right? So that is DAS. NVR, inside the NVR there is built-in hard disk, right? That is DAS, direct attached storage. What is NAS? It is not directly attached, it is connected over the network port. The format, the transmission format, the data format is different. Okay, that is NAS. Then SAN. SAN is, it is like similar to DAS, but it's on the network. Okay, it's how do you compare? It's like this. If your hard disk is inside the laptop and you can get like a local drive, you have good transfer speed, you have very good connection, its performance is good, but only challenge is in your laptop you can only have one or two hard disk, right, maximum. But what if you need more? For CCTV you're recording for 90 days, 100 days. What if you need more? Okay, in that case you can simulate this kind of function by having it on the network, but it will look like a local drive to your server. Same performance. How is that achieved? SAN storages use fiber connection to give you that level of speed and performance. But at the end of the day, it's on the network, but it will be talking to a server in the same format as your direct attached storage. Okay, so it's like your local hard disk on the network on the same level of performance or even more. Okay, NAS is over the network, like downloading over the internet. Think of that way. It takes some time. It is not very fast and not very efficient for large projects. But if it is within that performance spec, it can work. All right. All right. So tomorrow we will be touching on VMS in detail, and we will talk about RAID, and we will talk about the control room, video wall, and so on. All right. So if you have any further questions, please post in the Q&A. I will answer them. But if there's no other questions, feel free to disconnect. Session is completed for today. Thank you for your time today, and I hope it was useful.